This went downhill.
All right, let's do this.
Oh my God!
Welcome, everybody, to episode 83 of 1 Million of the Serial Chillers podcast from the Super Network studio. I'm here with Hella Greg in the Super Network bunker, 66.6 feet directly below us. How goes it, Hella Greg?
I'm reeling.
Oh, so early. Tell me why.
I'm processing a lot of stuff. I'm fine. Hey, everything's good down here. Don't you fret. Yeah.
Well, it feels good to officially know you're directly below us now in the Super Network bunker.
Yeah, now we just can't tell people where the Super Network studio is because then they know where the bunker is.
Yeah, we actually got from the movie Men in Black one of those neuralizers, and we hit everybody on the way out.
I don't remember that.
Exactly.
There we go. So make sure you guys find us anywhere you can. On Facebook is Serial Chillers Podcast. The Facebook group is Serial Chillers Podcast. It's closed. Wait for somebody like moderator Getty or Nick to let you in. Greg and I have given up since they've taken over. Congratulations, Nick and Getty.
Like when I see that somebody needs approval, I still try to get to it before they do. Most of the time,
now you're like, I'm useless.
Right. I get there and I'm like,
So thanks to those dudes for moderating the page. Instagram is Serial Chillers Podcast. The Twitter is @Chillers Podcast. Email address serialchillerspodcast@gmail. Call or text the show. We just got a text recently. I fucking didn't respond. I need to reply back to that person. 1-805-666-2513. I'm glad it reminded me.
Yeah,
that was
that's
beautiful.
embarrassing.
We put some new designs up, and we're actually going to put one more up next week. The Don't Talk to Strangers serial killer van.
That's nice.
Yeah, so that one will be up next week. The Come Back or We'll Kill You just went up early last week. Oh, shit, this will be out by the time you guys are listening to this. What am I talking about? So, yeah, you guys know how to find us. SerialChillersPodcast.com for all your stickers. Rate and review on everything. Patreon.com/SerialChillersPodcast to give us like $1 a month, and we'll be dope. Also, Super Simpsons Show. That's the other show we do. If you don't want to hear about people dying and you just want to hear people talk about The Simpsons, you can go over there. Welcome back.
They'll talk about people dying, but they all live in Springfield.
Yeah, exactly. And some of them are Hans Molman a lot.
They come back a lot, don't they?
Yeah. Welcome back to a couple dudes. One of them you guys know very well. Hey there, Paul.
Hey, how do I?
How
get
are
my
you?
own theme music? I've been alive for a while, and in none of my days of life has anybody ever come up to me. Who doesn't like me?
And just coming in hot. Welcome back to the studio for the second time, Mike. What's up, dude?
Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. The honor is all on this side of the table. First time, but I hear he's gonna win. That's pretty much that's all I've heard, really. So, welcome to the Super Network studio. One of our good Patreon givers who gives it $6.66. Thank you, and welcome, Maddux.
Thank you for having me.
Fuck yeah, dude. Good to have you here.
Good to see you, Ryan.
I would call this appearance 1.2.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, welcome, dudes. You guys know how the show works. Let me break it down for anybody who doesn't. Each week, I sit down with old friends, new friends, good friends, and bad friends to tell them the story of an infamous serial killer or other. Throughout the show, you guys can chime in on my story, and if you brought a story of your own that is true crime, dark, creepy, unsolved, or otherwise mysterious, please feel free to share it. Lastly, if you have questions about questions, make sure to ask questions, because I cannot answer questions about questions if you never ask questions. Are there any questions? Of course. Paul.
Hey, how do we feel about Canada, guys?
Then welcome to and let's play the Serial Chillers Podcast. Today's killer is Richard Daniel Starrett.
Sounds like an upstanding citizen of a city.
And as usual, Paul is going to just go ahead and strike him as innocent and as close to the beginning of the show as possible.
Prove me wrong.
Okay.
Question number 1. In what year is Richard Daniel Starrett born?
We're not doing day? date?
No, that's over. 250 points to the closest, 1,000 if you can nail it. In what year was Richard Daniel Starrett born? Okay, Paul said 1962. Mike said 1953. Maddux said 1949. 250 points to Paul because Richard Daniel Starrett was born September 25th, 1959. You're pretty close to 1,000 there, but only 3
Thanks,
off.
dude.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll do 3 less next time.
Good luck to you. So we've got 13 questions here tonight. 12 are mine. 1 is a Hella Greg question. Did you write one? If not, write one now. You got time.
Yes.
Okay. So Danny, full-term baby, normal pregnancy, nothing really, no issues. No, he wasn't deprived of oxygen or anything. However, when being delivered, Danny, I guess, got breech, and they had to use like giant forceps to pull him out. So when he was born, he came out and essentially was bruised all the way around his skull from like the nose up because of the way they had to pull him out. And he had an even more bizarre skull shape than a newborn. Anybody who's seen like a freshly newborn or like you have a kid, they kind of look like aliens when they come out. There's just no helping it. Yeah. Yeah.
You're being pushed out
Kinda
of
look
a small hole,
We have 2 fathers and 2 single gentlemen at the table, so me
Yeah.
and Paul are sitting here kind of confused.
Yeah, babies. Go team. Go team, go.
Score a touchdown goal.
Goal unit.
So, so due to the force, he's just bruised all the way. His head's got a crazy shape, even more crazy than a regular newborn. As an infant, Danny cried constantly, all day and night. Just for the record, the single guys, a normal amount of baby crying is enough to like maybe make you want to slit your wrists. So like a baby who cries 24/7, like for Boston was colicky for a few weeks. It was literally like I can say assuredly like the worst 2 weeks of my life. It's insanity.
So my child sleeps soundly from 10 p.m. to like noon the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a dog.
I did know that. I was gonna let you just go ahead and have it after you had called yourself single, but
Right. It's a dog, guys.
so yeah, he was as a very young kid, he was taken in and out of the hospital quite a few times due to diarrhea and dehydration and the constant crying. They want to know what was wrong. Danny's mother states that he never got over the diarrhea as a small child, like just perpetual pee butt, I think. So good for that poor baby. One night, Danny has rushed to the doctor.
The ass misses.
Yeah, he's got the mud butt.
The mud butt. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
One night, Danny was rushed to the doctor because he refused to drink anything and continued to have liquid stool. Like it had been a day and a half, and they couldn't get him to like drink anything. He became so dehydrated that he was immediately checked into the hospital. Although he needed medical attention, the family did not have insurance, so the doctor advised the parents force feed Danny a mixture of orange juice and sugar water.
America.
Mountain Dew.
Was Gatorade not invented yet? Pedialyte. Something.
I mean,
1959.
Yeah, it is 59. Yeah, Florida
Hold on,
Gators.
I'm on it.
No, I think Gatorade. I think the commercials. It's like I would say early 60s,
I would say early 60s.
Ooh.
62.
1968.
Is
Can
this
we get
question
betting?
3?
Can we get betting for points for when Gatorade was invented?
I'll put $1 on
Like betting for
68.
points, or should we just give 250 points? That's it. Bonus. All right, guys, 250 points. What year was Gatorade invented? Even though some of us took a guess already, you can keep your guess if you'd like.
I didn't hear him. So
Okay. All right, we're just random 250 here.
just a free floating 250.
Yep. Paul says 74. Shooting long. Mike says 62. Maddux says 67. What year was it, Greg?
1965.
1965. Maddux is going to get 250 points. We're just going to slide into the first question here. 1965. No, so we were 6 years away from Gatorade being invented.
You regret that, Paul?
No, did you slide into something really well again?
Looks like it.
So yeah, they advised the mixture of sugar water and orange juice. Let's get another question here, boys. Question number 2. How old was Danny when he began spending more time with a babysitter than his parents? Just wide open. Could be one day, could be 1 year.
No activities.
Just, his parents needed to go to work again and whatever. So he was with a babysitter more than he was with his parents. How old was he when they began that routine instead of being with him. Giving it a year, okay. You understand that he'd be 15 years old in 1974.
Do they not have babysitters that
Yeah.
age?
Okay. So.
Wait.
Yeah, you're done. So Mike's got 250 points on this one because he was just 1 week old when they started working. I believe his dad was still in school. Wait. You still would have lost. If you changed it 10 years backwards, you still got
Just gonna
third
change it
in
3
that
years
contest. So he, I guess that, I mean, different time. It wasn't really a time when they were like, oh, take 8 months and, we'll see you. We'll hold on to your job here or there. It was like, hey, and if you're not fucking back in a week, you're fucking fired. And his dad was a student at Georgia Tech at the time, and it was like finals, so it was like a wasted semester because he needed to go and take his finals, or he was a student. So at 1 week old, he began more full-time care with babysitters. At 1 week, Danny was left with a 12-year-old girl named Andrea Herder. Jerry, Danny's mother, said that Danny began to act differently after being left with Andrea. So at a week old, she's just like for most of the day leaving her child with a 12-year-old. Like, here's the thing.
Cake. They just lay there for a while.
Yeah. Like, okay, so for instance, Paul and I used to hang out a pretty fair amount. We lived very close to one another at the age of 12. We for sure would have killed a child. I am convinced of it. Like, we barely kept ourselves alive.
We almost killed a cat. Do you remember Fat Cat?
And that's actively trying to not be killed, not a baby who's just laying there, like kind of neutral to the whole thing.
This cat was pretty angry.
Isn't that one of the things with the triad thing? McDonald's triad?
I was gonna say, wait, I don't. What are you talking? I don't remember. What are you talking about?
Did we not try to kill the cat? Was that just me? This cat was so angry. I could be.
I remember it was
feet
the
from
day
it.
after I wet my bed and set my house on fire.
Hey! I did not.
I had
wet
had
my own
an
bed.
head injury like a week before.
It's the demons.
I mean, if I was there, I had for sure blocked this out.
I had so many friends.
All right, moving on.
Hashtag humble brag.
Hashtag weird flex, bro.
Damn it.
Greg has always wanted to use that in a real life situation, and he just missed an opportunity, and he knew it.
Hashtag fail.
Okay, so yeah, the kid is acting even weirder than normal after being left with a 12-year-old for the majority of the day, which
Seems
like
a
we were talking
horrible
about.
choice.
Yeah. That is not the age kid that you put in charge of keeping a 1 week old alive.
Noted.
He keeps
Maddux,
crying
remember
and
that.
I keep shaking it.
Oh my god.
It was the 60s.
So
Somebody else feel
Jerry,
like they would just YouTube how to care for a baby.
yeah.
Not in 1964.
Well, no,
Yeah.
but
So-
now.
Jerry then began to notice things about Danny, that he had developed severe diaper rash because the babysitter was not changing him, she believed. She think that she was letting him rock the dirty diaper all day. Ooh. And then mom would get home at like whatever 5:30, and so at 5:15 she changed the diaper.
No.
Yeah, so she get home like, oh, he's got a fresh diaper on. Seemed like nothing, but the mom was like, he was covered in like the gnarliest fucking rashes, and we didn't get it. But
So many things to say that people with kids would just hate.
yeah,
Go ahead.
that's the approach you'd take to it.
No. I just
Let him be free range.
There's a grass yard out back, probably. Just let them roam.
God, this, if not the cause, was at least a large factor for the severe and never-ending crying that continued on. They also believe that there may have been some physical and sexual abuse that was brought on during the times that Danny was left with Andrea and her brother Fred. I don't know. I think Fred may have been 1 or 2 years older, so he may have been 13 or 14, but he was there when he could be or wanted to be, and she was 12, and like she was the one who was hired to do it. So there's definitely some children. In 1962 and 63, question number 3. He's going to receive a severe head injury. How? This one is multiple choice. Did he A, fall out of a moving car? B, fall out of a tree fort? C, a neighbor hit him in the head while playing? Or D, hit by a swing at the park? All 3 of you guys guess
Baker.
swing at the park.
We have 1,000 cards. Write bigger. God, it's embarrassing.
All of a sudden, Paul's an advocate for writing. Motherfucker used to answer like 18 questions on one side of the card and not cross anything off. So you guys all said he's hit by a swing on the park, maybe because that felt familiar, because that is the story of John Wayne Gacy's severe head injury. He did not fall from a tree for it, and a neighbor did not hit him. Paul, you should have gone with your gut, because he fell out of a moving car.
That's what I wrote.
Yes.
Swing isn't even visible because it's been scribbled out so bad.
Oh, yep. That's what happened. So Danny fell out of a moving car at the age of 3. He tumbled headfirst onto the street and was standing on the seat, like looking out the window, because the fucking early 60s, and you could just do that. I don't even think you had to wear seatbelts then. So the kid is just standing on the seat. I'm sure this is a fucking boat of a vehicle too, with huge fucking windows, and he's standing on the seat like this, and whatever. His dad takes a sharp turn, and he falls out the window and goes.
Kids are hella top heavy.
Yeah, for sure. They're little suicide machines too. So he goes flipping out head first, smashes down into the concrete. His dad was driving, and he also decided that he wasn't going to take Danny to the hospital.
I mean, why would you?
Weird
really?
side note. I actually looked up like 2 days ago. Car seat laws started in 1984, so yeah, there were none back then.
Damn. How about 1984? We barely missed it, guys. So yeah, he fell out of the car. His dad decided to skip a hospital visit. He was like, "Look, he just did a little falling out of a car. He's good." In 1965, he is now 5. Oh no, it says in 1966. He's 6 years old. He fell 9 feet head first off of the slide. He was hanging upside down. This is also the 60s. They probably had a fucking 14-foot slide out on the playground that went straight down. So he was doing the hang upside down from your legs and slip straight down to his fucking dome piece. And he was taken to the hospital because he was at school. And the examining doctor said that there was no serious damage done. He was that doctor was blowing cigarette smoke in his face. No, I think everything's all right with him. So in 1967, he's now 7 years old, and less than a year after the incident with the slide, Danny starts falling down a lot. He collapses in the mall while shopping with his mother. Jerry, his mother, thinks that Danny is trying to get attention and just faking it, so she gets pretty pissed off at him and tells him to fucking cut it out. And Danny yells out, "I can't help it!" His head begins to hurt really bad. He's described it as pounding, just diabolical headaches. And he gets really dizzy, and his legs get just turned to fucking jello or spaghetti noodles al dente. Danny was sent to a series of doctors that found that his left foot was not growing at the same rate as his right foot. One leg was also shorter than the other, which caused Danny to begin to favor one side of his body.
Those are my favorite.
Yeah, so he had a short leg and a club foot.
What was the options for lifts at that time? Could he at least
Yeah, I'm sure
Tom
they
Cruised
had.
it?
Yeah, I'm sure they had something going on, but he's.
It was the 60s. It was a wood block.
They just literally tapped it in with a couple finishing nails. So, one doctor in West Virginia told his mother that he thought Danny was suffering from a brain tumor. What a super prognosis for your young child. No proof or anything. He's just you know what I think? Brain tumor. Oh.
You want to do some imaging?
Is that what you think? It's no, it's 1967.
It is what I think. I've seen some brain tumors in my day, and that's definitely a brain tumor.
Oh, this kid's showing all the signs of brain tumor.
Well, if you do the classic knock test, I believe it's, if you top, left, right. Exactly.
So upon further examination, it was found that Danny had a Babinski reflex. Babinski reflex is a normal reflex in infants. Reflexes are responses that occur when the body receives a certain stimulus. The Babinski reflex in particular occurs after the sole of the foot has been firmly stroked. The big toe then moves upward or toward the top surface of the foot. The other toes fan out. So in the Babinski reflex, essentially your toes do the opposite of what they're supposed to do. When I remember for sure when both my kids were born, they take them out and they rub a pin across the bottom of their feet, and they do a bunch of tests when they're first born, and that's one of them. Is they test that their reflexes and their toes are doing the right thing. So in his case, he's 7 or 8 years old at this point. He's still not. He doesn't have the right. His brain's not it's the wires are crossed.
He got a messed up brain.
Yeah, and he's been smashing it a lot too.
Brain
Two
no
big
good.
ones?
Yeah, brain no good. Why use lot words when you can use few?
Two
So
words too good. Great episode.
yeah. In 1968, when he's 8 years old, Danny's mother noticed that he started to disappear into his room. He said that he was going in there to read. So he's just going in and doing a lot of reading. That's,
He's trying to get that brain back right.
8 years old, though. That's like, you're like a little younger than that. You're still kind of like, you're learning to read. You're getting it all figured out. When you're like 7 or 8, you're either loving it and enjoying it. Like, I can read now. Like, what else can I do? Or you're like, all right, fuck reading. I'm going to be outside. Like, and this, she's
Super
probably
Nintendo.
she's probably like super stoked that her son is just like going away and doing a bunch of reading. So when Danny's in the first grade, his mom got a call from his teacher and they went in and had a meeting, and pretty much they were saying that Danny wasn't going to be able to go on to second grade because of the fact that he could not read well enough. So I don't know if that means that Danny was not fucking in there reading, or if he was in there just like trying to get better and despite his best efforts, he couldn't, or really what.
When I was 8 years old, I couldn't read good. And I would tell my mom I was trying, and she would cut me some slack. And I think that's probably what this kid's up to.
Yeah.
What grade is that?
7 or 8's
First.
like,
Second, third.
Second or third, actually.
yeah, second or third grade.
Well, he's in first grade there, is what you said.
Yeah, that's true.
So he's this maybe not
The
a new
end.
occurrence.
Yeah, maybe not at all. And it's the end of, he's not, like they're saying that he's not going to get to move on. It's the end of the year, too. He's a big boy. So the teacher just suggests that Danny see a psychologist to kind of get to the root of the problem. It seems that his parents were at first resistant. Remember, it's 1967. Mental health issues are not really getting any attention. Not like that. There are some issues that still could use a lot of attention now.
Not like today.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's kind of my point, is that like even now it's like there's a lot of like stigma that comes with a lot of it. In 1967, if the neighborhood found out your kid was going to a fucking psychologist, like there was probably no recovering from that, like,
Oh my God, did you hear what a terrible parent she is?
yeah, exactly. That's right. Jerry Starrett's taking her son to a fucking psychologist. Yeah, so I think that was a part of it. It was like, well, we can probably figure this out without the help of a fucking quack, right?
Yeah, you just hit them until they start doing what you tell them. And then they do what you tell them long enough, and it becomes the thing that they do.
So
That's a good voice.
eventually,
Thanks, I was born with it.
Eventually, I think they kind of got the idea their son was fucking a loco, and they needed to do something about it, so they decided to take him to a psychologist. The psychologist would eventually conclude that Danny was a very bright boy, except, and she then asked about something she noticed with Danny. So he was very bright, except question number 4. What was it that she noticed and wanted to know about? Is it A, his fixation on his physical issues? B, he seemed to not have an attention span? C, he had a severe stutter? Or D, he had a Tourette's-like tic? Fixation on physical issues, no attention span, severe stutter, Tourette's-like tic. Okay, so Maddux says tic. Paul says fixation on physical issues. Also tic. Yep,
D.
Mike says A?
D.
D, yeah, okay. So 2 tics and a physical issues, and nobody is getting points on question number 4.
Because he couldn't read.
He had a stutter that she really wanted to get to the root of. Because some of it is just like a linguistics issue, and then some of it's like a psychological issue that is, developing or helping keep a stutter. And at this point, Danny Starrett is experiencing quite a stutter. So we've got a 250 all here.
That's awkward.
Yeah, it's okay.
You
Everybody's
guys are
got some
terrible
points.
at this game.
I'm really just here to take out Paul.
Yeah, so you got to score some more points.
Gotta get some more questions.
Here we go. The psychologist noted Danny's very terrible stutter. Jerry said that she had noticed Danny stuttering at the age of 3 or 4, but the psychologist thought he could possibly be dyslexic and wanted him to wear a patch over one eye to correct the problem. Is that still like a thing?
So short leg, small foot, and eye patch. Got it.
Yeah, yar.
Plus a funny shaped head and a couple of
Well,
brain injuries.
his funny shaped head has been fixed. It's just as like a
How'd they
because
fix
it's
it?
such a malleable skull as a newborn.
So
So
they
like
put him
with
on.
clay.
They put him on one of those pottery
Almost.
things, like in Ghost,
Yeah.
and Patrick Swayze shaped his head back to the way it was supposed to be.
That's what I imagined. Anybody
That's-
else? Anybody?
well,
Pretty
yeah.
much.
Anybody? Everybody.
That's what if the experience that I had at the hospital stands correct, then yeah, that's exactly it.
You remember when they reformed your head?
No. I have children. I've seen.
Oh, totes.
I've been there for
That
that.
makes more sense.
He's seen the head be reformed.
It was on a clay pottery wheel. Oddly enough.
It's actually the last thing they do right before you go home. That's why their hair always looks so fucking cute. So Jerry's noticed the stuttering about 3 or 4. The psychologist thought he could always wear the eye patch to fix it. Danny's mother said that as a child he was very hyper, even though the psychologist just told her the exact issue, what was fucking wrong and how they could solve it. But instead she decided to ignore it and say that he was hyper. Danny's teacher told his mother that he was hyperactive. Yeah, so... his mother could not get him to sleep at night or quiet down during the day, so due to his hyperactivities, says she, much like his incessant crying as an infant. So his whole life he's just been a goddamn handful.
That's probably what they said too.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, he's got these physical ailments, and it's difficult, but we love him. It's he is such a handful. He's our little burden.
Yeah.
And
He's our little burden.
yeah,
Gift from Jesus, our little burden.
yeah, we love him because we have to.
Well, what does Marge say to Bart all the time?
We're a special little guy.
Special little guy. Okay, although he could not read well and was believed to have dyslexia, he was thought to be very smart at this point, and he just wasn't being challenged. One of his teachers said that he thought that he could do well if he would just apply himself and settle down a little bit, because he got the fucking hyperactivity.
That
Just needs
seems
to-
like the meanest fucking thing.
What's that?
This kid is struggling, and they're like, he's not challenged enough. Make it tougher.
I mean, that's how it is sometimes, though. Like, some kids are just like, man, fuck off with all this. I should be 2 grades ahead. And they're so bored, they, like, act out. And then, they'll move them up to, something that's their level. And
And they looked at this kid who can't read good, and they were like, this is him. He's them. He should be 2 grades ahead.
they don't believe that it's his intelligence that's keeping him from reading, though. They believe it's dyslexia. And that can be solved with an eye patch.
My dad has dyslexia, and he definitely doesn't wear an eye patch.
Has he tried?
And he could read.
He's got teachers that think that his intelligence level is high. I think they don't think they're insulting him. They're encouraging him to do better. That's all. Quit your fucking around. Settle down into it. Quit reading words backwards, and get smarter. So his mother said he was never mean or violent. He was just always trying to get kids to play with him. So he was always bugging his siblings. He is constantly harassing them for attention and constantly annoying them. But I feel like that's just siblings. So that's just the way that happens. I don't personally have, but when Danny was arrested, there was like a journal from his childhood and like teenage, like it was a very extensive where he would just write pages about his days and stuff. So there's like a lot of excerpts from that. And one of the pages talked about, there's a quote here. I am extremely obsessive compulsive about order and neatness. I would count things and jump over things mentally. He's, you've seen the shows where the people have like OCD so bad, they've got to like go and like, to the light switch, and like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so
They're always late.
Yeah, he was at a OCD level of that. At least he was self-described as having an OCD level of that. He said in school he described being in a hypnotic trance and being a zombie because he wasn't sleeping much. and he was constantly having to do his routines or his what do you call them? Rituals, I believe it is.
Ticks.
Nope.
Rituals.
So
Minus 250.
he would later jump out of a tree in what someone would call a death-defying style. And he did it because he was like up there and he knew it wasn't high enough to kill him, but he was like, "This is gonna hurt."
Somebody else picture like Assassin's Creed, just like full like swan dive. Oh no, I'm gonna turn and fall into this like pile of hay that's not really there.
I think he just knew. I think at like 9 or 10, he was like beginning to be an adrenaline junkie, and it was like
He did it for the girls. I mean, let's be honest.
maybe I mean, it doesn't say anything about that.
I don't feel like eye patch is really pulled back then.
But you know, it's funny.
He pulls it back. Like, that's how you know he's serious.
Well-
Stands up there, pulls back, then, like you said, Assassin's Creed.
Eye patch, rebel, chicks like scars. You know, just fucking the whole thing.
Hey,
you
you
know?
know, how,
Because the-
you know how we would describe him?
Because the chicks dig it. I'm pretty
No.
sure that's a
No, he fucks.
song.
Hard.
He also used to play a lot of games with bows and arrows and ride his bike a lot at this time. But just for you, Ryan, in 1970, at the age of 10, he starts to become incredibly interested in girls.
Told you.
Yeah, so
Wasn't it the age of like 12 with the babysitter?
the babysitter was 12 when she was babysitting him.
So,
Yeah,
but when he was like 12.
no, he was a week old.
Right. No, but we're going. Let's move on.
Yeah, the babysitter who was taking care of him was 12. He was a week old. When, yeah. His interest in girls really sprouted about the age of 10, Maddux. So you were like right in line. You were one bullet point away from being. He might have done it for the.
I'll still take it.
He might have jumped out of the tree.
No, Greg, no points.
And still in 1970, another page from his journal said that he would find, and I don't know if you guys had this experience as a kid. I for sure did. But he went into an abandoned house, and he found a box of porn. Just a good old-fashioned abandoned box of porn.
No,
led
that was
very
in my
different
buddy's
childhoods.
dad's shop
Yeah.
in his toolbox. But
Yeah.
we found it.
We
found
we
it.
used to live on a little bit of property, and it had like a bigger dumpster, and people like would occasionally dump at it. And it was never like we never really went through the trash, but a lot of people just dump outside of the dumpster, and whatever. You're 10, and you're like, what? What was that? Remember, Danny's like highly OCD, but he doesn't like it really to be pointed out. And I don't think anybody does like their issues to be pointed out. But in 1971, they're like out in the backyard, and I guess Danny's dad sprayed him with a hose, and he was like, "Yeah, you need to take a shower." And Danny took it as like making fun of his OCD for some reason, and he got super fucking pissed off. So he went upstairs, packed some food and a bag, and he vowed to never come home again. Question number 5.
Ooh, ramen.
How long was Danny gone when he ran away? Could have been 30 seconds, could have been 6 months. He packed some food. He packed some clothes.
Question: how old was he?
11.
Kind of
Without
food did
giving
you
away the answer, is there a form of measurement?
No.
Days, hour? Just go for it.
Yeah.
Just wing it.
Yep.
I'm going to go with a fortnight.
2 weeks.
One fortnight.
Isn't that just like metric time?
I have no idea. I just heard this with all the kids are doing.
It's lit, bro.
12 hours?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Maddux says 12 hours. Both Paul and Mike say
Stop.
3 days.
Maddux comes out for the lead.
Nope.
Maddux ain't shit.
Maddux comes out with the lead because Danny made it just down the street and was gone about 15 minutes. Okay, so in 1972, this is about a year after his 15-minute runaway, Jerry, his mother, said that he had discovered books at this time and like actually reading, and he had kind of done the work to get it a little figured out, and his dyslexia wasn't being such an issue. So he would read almost a book a day. He would spend weekends reading in his room, coming out only for meals. And this time, apparently, he's actually reading, and he's like, they can tell he's talking to them about books. He's reading classics.
He's
that
done
they've
his
read.
book reports. They know it's real
Yeah,
this time.
exactly.
They didn't find the cliff notes.
So his little OCD teenage riddled life would be fairly normal after that. He just reads a lot, and then he heads off to college. Question number 6. which college did he attend? Was it Georgia Bulldogs? Georgia Tech?
Horned
Bees or
Frogs.
whatever they are.
I think they're the salmon.
The Yellow Jackets?
No, Horned Frogs.
Are we just supposed to fucking
Shit,
guess
I
at
don't
this
know.
point?
Georgia Southern or Georgia State? Georgia Tech, Georgia Southern, Georgia State. Georgia State? Yellow Jackets?
I think it is the Yellow Jackets. It's definitely not the Horned Frogs. That's TCU.
All right. Mike says Georgia State. Southern from both Maddux and Paul. He went to Georgia Tech.
Damn.
That's awkward.
Paul, what are you
Bulldogs.
playing? Are you over there just playing defensively? You got like a strategy? You just guess the same as somebody else. That
Hey,
way
keeps
they can
looking
get
at me.
points.
Hey,
I should have guessed Bulldogs. Look.
hey. Here's the thing, Tim. Don't worry about it, bruh. Play to win.
Well, do better.
I'm
then.
not winning.
So
now.
Maddux is up 500. Paul and Mike both at 250. 6 questions of 13 down. In 1981, in his early 20s, he starts to become very depressed and he starts to have obsessive habits, more so than he normally does. His headaches get incredibly more painful, like when he was a child, and he gets compulsive of following girls and blacks out following girls on several occasions.
We've all been there.
Okay, so he became depressed, started having the obsessive habits. The headaches got worse. He blacked out while following girls obsessively. In his college years, he said that he was addicted to adrenaline. At one point, his friend was driving and he had a couple. So he hung his body out of a moving vehicle at 70 miles per hour. Apparently, this was not like hanging your upper torso out. This motherfucker was like holding on to the oh shit bar, hip on the side of the fucking giant window, I'm assuming, and like face inches from the ground while they're smashing ass down the highway. So,
Smart.
So he started ghost riding the whip, is what you're saying.
yeah. Well, I think he wasn't really doing the driving as much, but I think he was an adrenaline junkie. So he was doing anything he could to get a little bit out. In question number 7, while at Georgia Tech, he took up an adrenaline rush hobby. What was it? If you can get this, it's for 500 points. There is no multiple choice options.
Oh.
What year was this?
Just think of weird white people hobbies.
What year was this? 'Cause
His
I have
college,
a lot of
his
those.
college years are like these early 20s. This is like late 70s at this point.
Weird white people hobbies. Let's see. Did
I've
he
been called
invent
a hobby
avocado
horse,
toast?
so
No. That was my stab.
Let's get a new card.
Did you put extreme fishing?
Okay, so Paul's, I wouldn't really consider it a high adrenaline activity, but Paul said juggling.
Have you ever juggled on the edge of a cliff, bruh?
He didn't say cliff juggling, it just says juggling.
Chainsaw juggling?
On a cliff, dude. It says it right there. Can you not read?
Maddux said motocross or dirt bikes. And Mike said bungee jumping,
No, we're in Georgia. Where are they going to
which was probably the closest of all the options. Because while at Georgia Tech,
skydiving.
Danny took adrenaline rush hobby of skydiving.
That's close.
I should get 50 points for that.
That was close. Can you see my other
I'll
one?
take it.
Okay, so yeah, he took up skydiving. Let's take a little
Apparently, this is awkward.
let's take a little breaky poo here. I think everybody could just take 10, just take some deep breaths, and so no points for anybody on question number 7. Maddux is going to take a 500 to 250 lead into Greg's question once we get his story. Yeah, take a little break, come back, or we'll kill you.
The makeup on your face, it left me with a taste of regret on my lips, blood held between fingertips. I see you sitting in your solid room on this cold dark night. I see you sipping on that vodka, it's gonna make you feel alright. Getting high, yeah, you make me feel alive. Spinning records all the time, you could stay with me tonight. Getting high, yeah, you make me feel alive. Spinning records all the time, you could stay with me tonight. What you really wanna know about me? Can't you see I'm dripping like I'm fucking saucy? I just wanna get to know you, girl, just let me show you. Just wanna be your go-to. Driving to and I'm looking to my right. You're looking pretty good, I be rocking off-white. Yeah, running through my mind like a track meet all night. Stacking all these hundreds to the motherfucking sky, yeah. What's the plan? Tell me what it do. I can't include myself if it ain't including you, oh man. Can you pour another cup, please? Turn the system up, please. Chillin' out on Long Beach. Got this rollie in my hand, I've been smoking on that grand. Got that back from Uncle Sam. One day you told me the strength of a man is measured in his heart. I drive back home and think of times when it was simpler from the start. Getting high, yeah, you make me feel alive. Spinning records all the time, you could stay with me tonight. Getting high, yeah, you make me feel alive. Spinning records all the time, you could stay with me tonight. Can you pour another cup, please? Turn the system up, please. Chilling out on Long Beach. I'll be driving to the bank now, moving hella dank now. Looks like I'm about to cash out.
Hey, if you like that track, search Will M on Spotify.
Okay, welcome back, everybody, to this episode. It's a number. If you're here, we don't have to kill you, which is also good, so we don't have to work. It's episode 83.
83.
I like to just pretend like I don't know sometimes.
You already know! Exclamation
If you're
point.
not here, we're going to come find you in the Serial Chillers field trip van.
Yes, you guys already saw the photo of that online. It leaks.
Artist rendering.
Yeah, it leaks, but it's nothing coming from any inner workings of the vehicle. So, Hella Greg brought us a little story. I think you got an article, right?
Yes, it's
Okay.
not. This one's not all like crazy conspiracy.
Okay, question and or challenge
Damn
involved.
it.
There is a question and or challenge involved.
At the top, or are we
it
gonna
is
hear
a-
the story
It is
first?
a question.
Okay.
It is a multiple choice question.
Okay, guys, get ready. This is going to be question number 8. This is the real deal, Holyfield.
Yeah, I gifted you guys 250 points earlier. Now you got to earn them.
No, you didn't give me shit. You gifted one of us points.
You all
And
had your
that
chance.
one of us
One
was
who has never sent you money.
So
Actually,
this
he
is,
did.
$14.
That's bullshit. It's a lie.
This is an article from News Hub in New Zealand, and it has nothing to do with anything that recently happened there, but it did take place in Spain. A self-confessed cannibal reportedly told police that he cut his mother's body into 1,000 pieces and then shared the pieces with whom? That's the question. Your choices are A, his brother, B, his dog, C, his father, or D, a homeless gentleman.
Didn't Dahmer's neighbor once say, like, man, I had a turkey sandwich from him that tasted funny
said-
one time?
Yeah, he invited her in and made her a sandwich, and I was like, that poor lady ate people.
Okay, Maddux said father, both Paul and... Actually, Maddux said Faja.
A little bit of gold member there.
Good joke, Maddux.
Mike and Paul both answered the dog. Greg, tell them if anybody's won.
He cut his mother into 1,000 pieces and shared the pieces with his pet dog.
There it is.
All
Yeah.
tied up at
250.
500.
Always
points.
guess the dog.
See, I gifted you 250 earlier,
Thank you.
and now I gifted them 250.
Thank
Greg
you.
giveth, and Greg taketh away.
You've taken nothing from me but $7. And that
Do
was
it again,
even
too.
given.
I'll do it again, too.
Alberto Sanchez Gomez, 26-year-old unemployed waiter, which I have a problem with. How can you be unemployed and a waiter?
Good
Said
call.
that he would. I think he would be an ex-waiter. Maybe that's what drove him to this. Alberto Sanchez Gomez, a 26-year-old unemployed ex-waiter, is said to have confessed to detectives when they arrived at his home in Madrid, searching for his mother, 66-year-old Maria Soledad Gomez. Police discovered her remains in at least 6 large Tupperware containers. Yeah.
How
Local
many ounces is
newspaper.
that?
Local newspaper reported the body was cut into more than 1,000 pieces and the woman's vital organs were missing. Former friends of the alleged cannibal told the newspaper how he had become addicted to drugs and spent most of his time on a park bench outside his home drinking with homeless people, which Sounds pretty fun, if I'm gonna be honest. Like, that sounds like a cool way to kill like a Saturday afternoon, but like not all the time.
It's like chocolate cake's good, but that's not all you want to eat.
Whoa, whoa,
Right.
whoa. That's like Panda Express is delicious, and I could eat it forever.
Gomez was well known to the police due to a series of previous arrests for domestic violence against his mother. A neighbor told local police that the man's mother often had bruises. The mother would come down full of bruises to tell us that she had fallen with the dog.
Man, how you gonna beat up your mom?
I'm
They're gonna blame
guessing
it on the
pretty
dog.
easily.
Like maybe like if you had like a bitchy aunt or something, maybe. But you gonna beat up your mom?
I'm guessing it probably wasn't very tough for him.
She was old.
I guess I was asking more like morally and ethically how you gonna beat up your mom, but
So if she's
Should
like
we
real
you
feeble,
want
you
to
just
tackle that
flick her.
before or after the cannibalism thing,
so this is when the
or
cannibalism started.
the murder?
Murdered and ate his mom, not just beat her up.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
finish the Eric Cartman Scott Tenorman story, please.
So he fed him the dog in chili. And
Hey,
no,
hit
I'm
the chili
kidding.
cook-off.
It doesn't say how he fed the dog pieces of the mom. It just says that he's been undergoing psychiatric evaluation, but is expected to remain in prison until his court appearance. This actually just happened.
Really?
This was February 26th, like 2 weeks ago.
So this episode will be hitting like March 16th. So still be less than a month.
It's still this year.
This is March 16th.
Yeah, I was gonna
April.
say
It'll be a month and a half old. It'll be a month and a half old. But even still, that's really fresh.
Yeah. So there's not a lot. That's all the information that I have on it right now because it kind of just happened. But this guy definitely killed and ate his mom, and then split the meal with his best buddy.
So let's jump back into goddamn Danny Starrett. He just headed off to Georgia Tech, going where his dad went.
Southern.
Nope, definitely not. So he has a fairly normal college life, but he's got crazy OCD and some social anxiety issues, which would keep him from getting a degree. He was kind of weird towards women. He didn't really take it very seriously and go to his classes a lot. He had weird rituals, and like Paul said, those people are rarely on time. You've got to make sure the lights. And I feel for those people. I think those people can get help and should get help, but
I feel like I identify with this guy all of a sudden. Just weird with women,
You're
social
married.
anxiety. That doesn't make me less weird around her.
But if you're married, she's at least equally weird, so it works out.
No,
or
she's
just
really
accepting
good
of his weird.
One of the
She's
two.
just
I don't
really
know.
good at ignoring me.
I don't know. I'm single. I've done it wrong. How you doing, man?
But he's got a lot of friends.
Guys, I've got so many friends.
You should
So-
see his fucking Facebook.
I need at least 2 hands to count all my friends.
Danny would, after college, without getting a degree, move to California and almost Maddux, but he would buy his first motorcycle.
I'm like 2 bullets away on everything.
Danny
using
suffered
bullets.
his first accident after only a few months when he slammed into the side of a car that pulled out in front of him. Danny sustained only bumps and bruises, but was shaken by the fact that he could have easily lost his life. So he's an adrenaline junkie, but also at the same time, he was like, oh, okay, this is fucking kind of real, I think.
This is when he took up juggling by the cliffs.
So actually what happened was he got over it really quickly, and the adrenaline kicked in, and Danny would buy an even more powerful motorcycle with the insurance money from his first accident.
I believe it was a
That way, if I hit
Kawasaki
him, I'm not gonna feel
Z1000. They were big back mid-70s.
Okay, there you go. We're in 82. It's 82 right now.
They were big then, too.
Yeah, okay.
So close.
So Danny buys his fucking bigger motorcycle with the insurance and money from the wreck of the first. And in 1982, he meets a woman named Heather, and they quickly marry. So, hey,
Adrenaline Chucky.
there's hope, Paul. Don't worry.
Impulse decisions.
What's this me? He's single too.
September, I'm not worried about him.
Tough.
September 1982.
Cuckoo.
Is when they would marry. March 12th, 1987, Danny and Heather would have a baby and name her Allison. So his daughter is like around our age. So, Paul?
Stop. What? Dude,
Paul's on
Tinder's
Tinder
fire,
at. That's
bro.
what I was. His handle
on
is.
Tinder.
I don't know how it works.
I have so
Paul's on
many
Tinder, and on those really slow nights, Paul's on Grinder.
Bro, Grindr's more fire than Tinder. I have so many matches you don't even know.
Got a lot of friends.
Got so many friends, I count them.
In Christmas of 1987, Danny Starrett is going to answer a classified ad in the California Trader for a couch being sold by Tammy Cranford. They set up a meeting at Tammy's house, and once there, Danny would force Tammy Cranford to perform oral sex on him. I'm not sure where this fucking huge turn came from all of a sudden, or why he decided that this is the best way to go about receiving oral sex. Like, I think it was he was very forceful of it. He went there, he forced her in, like she opened the door and he went right in and got to business. It wasn't like, so can I see this thing? Or it was from the accounts that I have, he went in and got what he wanted and got the fuck out of there. In June of 1988, he's going to answer the classified ad in the Carolina Trader for a dining room table being sold by Tiffany Hart. They set up a meeting time at Tiffany's house, and once there, Danny forced Tiffany into a room and had her perform oral sex on him. I know that sounds almost identical to the first story, but it's because he just did pretty much an identical thing.
But I assure you, it's the second story.
Yeah, one was in December of 87, one is in June of 1988.
Fucking Craigslist killer before Craigslist, eh?
Yeah, but he's just forcing them to perform oral sex, and then he's like, I'm out of here. Like, he's a real big piece of shit. No fucking doubt at all. But he's answering classified ads. He's forcing women to perform oral sex on him. June 24th, 1988, he's going to answer the classified ad in the Carolina Trader for a refrigerator this time. A woman named Susanna Hansen was selling it. They set up a meeting at Susanna's house. Once there, Danny kidnapped Susanna and took her to his home, where she was sexually assaulted and forced to perform oral sex on him multiple times. He kidnapped her, but he also let her go. Like, he sexually assaulted her and then was like, get the fuck out of here.
All right, go on. Don't tell anybody.
In the summer of 1988, a 12-year-old girl was kidnapped and assaulted by a man who matched Danny Starrett's description and who said that he was answering a newspaper advertisement. I think he went to the wrong house, but he was like, In December 29th of 1988, just a year after the first attack, he answered the classified ad in the Carolina Trader for a couple of tables. He set up a time with a young girl who had replied. Danny asked the girl if her parents were home, or was she home alone. You know, he's trying to figure out the situation before she get there.
Smart.
The girl wouldn't let Danny into the house like a fucking boss, and she saved herself from a lot of trouble and maybe even saved her own life. Later, I think the next day, he answered an ad in the Carolina Trader to Jean Taylor McCree, who was selling I don't know what she was selling.
Cookies.
Cookies. So they set up a meeting time at Jean's house. Her parents arrived home to find a note that she had left. She was going away for a few days. I think she was 17. She went missing for 2 months. Jeannie went willingly with Danny to his house in Martinez. Danny put tape over her sunglasses so she could not determine where she was going. Just like tape.
Would hate to take those off.
Yeah.
It's like a burlap sack over one eye. What good's that doing?
So, hey, depth perception is important, Paul.
That's debatable.
I like that he's just like completely assumes that she doesn't have peripheral vision.
Anybody else
She can't
picture
see
like
me driving.
Ray-Bans?
She can't see out the windows. This is
Wayfarers
perfect.
literally is what I was
Yeah.
imagining in my head.
Yeah, I picture Ray-Bans.
So when they get to the house, he just acted like it was nothing. He would lock Jeannie in a closet while she went out to get some things. Or while he went out to get some things. So he just had her locked into a closet. And he's like, I got to run a few errands first. After Jeannie informed him that he did not have to lock her up, he allowed her to be free and walk around the house. I think at this time, his wife was, it said she was out of town a lot. But I think that she was kind of onto his maybe mental illnesses and his issues and was kind of keeping her distance, and the house was his at this point. That's why he got all this freedom. So he, after Jeannie informed him that she didn't have to lock her up, he just let her out. He said that they would play games, they would watch movies and TV together. They even took a trip together. Danny said that they acted like any other normal couples on vacation. One day, after their return to the house in Martinez, Jeannie and Danny decided to take a shower together. While in the shower, question number 9. What would Danny do? Would he A, sexually assault her again, B, stab her, C, shoot her, or D, decide that he was going to let her go? Assault her once more, stab her, shoot her, or decide that he was going to let her go. All right. Okay, so you guys guessed all the answers but the right one because he shot her in the shower.
No, that's what
Where did he hide the gun?
Spider-Man with Parkinson's.
Yeah, how did he hide a gun and shooting a gun in a goddamn shower?
I don't have all the details, but I'll tell you what, man. Like I've got shower doors. Paul, you're very tall. You can hide things, places, and things that people don't know. Maybe
I have a gun
Like
4 feet
ceiling
from my
vents and
shower.
stuff.
Do you?
He has an ass gun.
I was gonna say, like, I have a pretty wide shower rail for my shower doors. Like, I put my Bluetooth speaker and shit up there. Like, if you just set something up there and it was like I'll get her in and she won't, have time to notice that or whatever. I don't know. That's what.
No, I was thinking more like a tub with the shower curtain and the curtain rod.
And you just kind of bunch it up there. He shot her in the shower. Yes, shot her in the shower. He would then wrap her body in a green blanket because he said green was Jeannie's favorite color. He drove around with her body in the back seat until he decided at some point to leave her on the side of a river. What a romantic.
Sorry, this is a question. I have one. Who was the fucking killer who would ride around with somebody in the back seat and shit and pick up his girlfriend from the liquor store and all that? You remember who I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about. I can see his
Isaac
dumb, stupid
Rodriguez.
mustache and face right
Yeah.
now. I just can't think of his name off the top.
But for some reason that came into my head. Like,
It's all gonna
just
make
having
sense.
somebody in
Doesn't
the
matter.
back seat.
On February 6, 1989, Daryl and Alice Blake came home to find their 17-year-old daughter, Chrissy Blake, missing. That same day, Danny is accused of kidnapping a woman named Sherry Dawn, who was 17 years old. February 11th of 1989, Officer Mike Adams entered the house at 130 West Lynn Drive as a girl screamed, "I was kidnapped." Chrissy Blake said that Danny had come to her door saying he was an insurance salesman and that he was dressed in a suit and looked safe, so she let him in. She then said that she tried to run away, but Danny pulled a gun on her and told her that he would kill her. Questioning from the police revealed that Danny had sexually assaulted Chrissy as well as making videotapes of the two of them. The police later found a tape of Chrissy performing oral sex forcefully on Danny. Question number 10. Where did they find the tapes? Was it A, under the floorboards, B, in the basement, C, buried in the backyard, or D, in the VCR? Paul.
Is this... Now I'm getting my electronics confused. Is this still when we had like the full VHS?
89 most likely, I would imagine. Or it's like on a reel. But I imagine 89, we're talking over the shoulder dad cam.
One more time through 'em.
Under the floorboards, in the basement, buried in the backyard, in the VCR. Everybody says right in that motherfucking VCR. You guys think he just couldn't even control it?
Well,
He's like,
you can't bury that. It's not going to be good after it's dirty.
like put it in a box.
No, those disintegrate. You have to find where you
Put it in
buried
a
it.
cardboard. Well, I put it like an
you
ammo
can tell
box.
it's
and that
wrong
shit's
because
good.
Jesse's trying to defend his answer
All I'm saying,
or question.
all I'm
He's trying to
saying,
defend-
pervs will put it in the easiest place to use it, and buried in the backyard is not one of them.
So as they went through the home,
They didn't find it until they went in the backyard.
they found the tape in the VCR. 250 points for everybody.
Fivers. No, fuck
Still
y'all.
tied.
Y'all suck.
On February 11th, 1989, he's now 29 years old. The FBI is going to issue a nationwide alert. He's wanted for kidnapping and criminal sexual conduct. They consider him armed and dangerous. So he's pretty fucking serious if the FBI is now issuing a nationwide alert. But they essentially go into his house with enough evidence thinking that he's abducted someone, and they find several tapes of him like filming himself raping women. So on Valentine's Day 1989, question number 11, they find him in his car on the run for 1,000 points because there's no multiple choice. What state was he in when they found him?
What state did they start in?
Don't tell them.
They're in Georgia. Are you thinking about the ludicrous one? on my mind and
I feel like
all the time.
If we answer the same on this one, I'm going to be very angry.
Well, you're gonna say Texas.
I'm definitely not going to say Texas.
You say New York?
touching Texas.
Is spelling thing here?
No.
mine. I feel like this is where all the shit happens. So I'm going.
Ooh, Florida. He wrote Florida.
You knew it right away.
They're crazy out there.
Paul says Louisiana, New Mexico
That's too
for
far.
Maddux.
It's actually
would
California.
say-
He went to California, didn't he?
Yeah.
Mike says Florida. That's right. That's right. Should have gone with Texas.
You look so stupid. Look at you, idiot.
Because Danny's license plate and car is located at a rest stop in Texas. So the police approach. He was on his way to California to see his wife and baby where they were staying. When the police approached his car, they found a man sleeping inside of it. They woke him and proceeded to ask him multiple questions. They asked if he had any suicidal tendencies. Sweet man. Danny answered that he did not. They asked him about the assaults and specifically the one in Georgia for which they were looking for him. He denied the kidnapping and assault. Danny was taken to the Lexington County Jail where he requested no guests while he was incarcerated. His family came to see him or denied access due to his request. So that's kind of fucking
Weird.
I think he was probably too ashamed. You know what I mean? Like he didn't want his family coming in and seeing him locked up and
his mom staring at him going, Daniel.
yeah, for whatever reason. And they came to see him. So they would actually write him letters like, dude, you got to change that because we need to get in there to see you. Like, you can't just block it out from us. Like, we've been trying to come. I don't know if they tell you, but you should change it so we can come see you. And so he does. I don't think he realized he would get such an outpouring of support from his family. Danny's house on West Lane Drive was later searched completely by the police and found was an RCA video camera, a blue canvas bag full of videotape, so a duffel bag fucking full of VHS tapes, which is like 14 at least.
Which, surprisingly, he found a duffel bag of porn in the woods, just not in the woods.
Yeah. They also found inside the duffel bag with the tapes, they found the one specifically of Chrissy Blake, who they were looking for. A pair of brown gloves, stained sheets and towels, newspapers in which classified ads had been circled, a pair of handcuffs, a starter pistol, a revolver, plus a pile of notebooks and maps, gasoline, motel, and car rental receipts. So he kept everything. Mike.
What?
I have a question. This may be a dumb fucking question. What is a starter pistol?
Like a
a
mark,
22.
set.
Oh,
It's the one they give you before you get your real gun. It's like your
You're
training
so
gun.
dumb. It's an airsoft.
Yeah, they look very real. Like when I remember running track, they didn't even have an orange plug. It looked like a real gun. The blanks are really fucking loud. It's that. He kept everything. They have fucking receipts about where he was. Like he was in this motel from this day to this day, and this girl went missing from here, and blah, 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 blah. Taxes. That's right.
He, honest to God, sounds like he has a duffel bag of a character from like a semi-apocalypse game.
So there was another receipt that they weren't because it was handwritten. So some of those ones that are just like thank you, but they sort of got the idea that it was for a storage unit. So there was an idea that somewhere there's a storage unit with his name on it, and they need to fucking find it. Later, his wife, Heather, is brought in for questioning. Questions would reveal that their sex life had changed drastically after Heather had their baby. He no longer wanted to have sex with her once she had a kid. That's kind of what went down. She talked of how they no longer had a normal sex life, and Danny wanted her to perform oral sex. He wanted to do it like he did his assaults. Like he's like, no, listen, I'm going to take you. I'm going to fucking throw you on the ground. The problem is like even when she tried to kind of, get into his kinks with him, he couldn't even keep it up because he needed it to be the real deal. Holyfield, rough as fuck. And he couldn't do that to his wife. He needed to do that to some, not his wife's. So Heather also describes how Danny liked to read dirty mag. Like he was out in the open with him. Like it wasn't like his dirty little secret. He kept one under that was his coffee table reading at the house. So he found the box in the dumpster and he never looked back. The police would later find the storage unit that Danny owned and his wife did not know about, Vanguard Self-Storage, Locker 132 in Martinez, Georgia. The final count for items in the storage unit were 18 calendars depicting nudity and or violence, 71 flyers on erotic and violent videos, 116 posters depicting bondage or violence and sex, 935 books depicting nudity, horror, and sexual violence, and 1,197 magazines containing sex, horror, violence, and bondage. Yeah, they found that in the storage unit.
Pre-internet for sure.
That's what I was gonna
I
say.
was gonna say, if this guy had held out for like another what year is this? 1989. If this guy had held out for another
10 years.
12 years,
Yeah.
all of that stuff would have been free online.
Especially with private mode, nobody even knows.
I would just love to see
Yeah,
that episode of Storage Wars when they open up that container.
Dude, imagine if that's the one you bought.
won. What I win? I won a 4-pound butt plug.
Looks like a good one, you guys. I'm getting a good feeling.
Okay,
My
so
max is $600.
there's a question to this. He rented it under an alias. He used 2 different aliases. They noticed that when he went back to like renew his rental, I think he couldn't remember the name he used. So he used 2 different ones. Which of these 2 names did he use? They're all very similar. So if you need me to repeat them, let me know. Did he use Rick Stannett, Mark Stonett, Mark Stannett, or Rick Stonett? 2 of them are correct. Stannett, Rick Stannett, Mark Stonett. It's essentially Stannett and Stonett for both Rick and Mark, if you want to write them. Instead of A, Rick Stannett, B, Mark Stonett, C, Mark Stannett, D, Rick Stonett.
Is Stone it an option?
Stannett, Stonett. No,
That's
that would
E.
be cool, man.
That's E.
Okay, so Mike says B and C, Mark Stonett, Mark Stannett. He likes the Mark one. Maddux says A and C, Rick Stannett, Mark Stannett.
1 and 3.
Paul says Rick Stannett, Mark Stannett, same as Maddux.
Wow.
And Paul and Maddux are going to get 250 points each because he was double Ricking it, not double marking it. Rick Stannett, Rick Stonett. 250 points for your guys' Rick Stannett answer. And you guys are going to jump out to 750 there? 1,000.
God, that's it.
Check you guys out,
This
huh?
is sad. Are we at question 3 still?
So 2 questions to go. And Maddux and Paul have taken a 1,000 to 750 lead. 2 questions ago. Plenty of time, guys. Don't even worry about it. Rick Stannett and Rick Stonett. Yeah, so they found letters addressed to these names in the storage unit, as well as the storage unit being placed under the name in 2 different names. Also found were classified ads and maps of some of the cities where the victims had lived. He would like map out, like when I say he kept everything, he like, all right, here's how I get here. I'm going to draw it on this map. And then I'm going to keep this map. I'm going to like keep it near some receipts of the hotel that I used for it. Also, I'm going to put a spit sample in here. Here you go. Also found were
You guys are terrible people.
on June 23rd.
You are a terrible person.
Yeah. On June 23rd, 1989, he began serving his sentence at the Kirkland Maximum Security Prison in South Carolina for his crimes. On June 29th, the first phase of his trial begins to determine if he was mentally competent to face the capital murder charge in Cartersville, Georgia. So he's starting to make the rounds here. He gets through a South Carolina one. They're like, yeah, life. They're like, okay, they need you over in Georgia. On May 3rd, 1993, he's already serving life sentences in South Carolina. He was sentenced in Georgia to 4 life terms plus 50 years in prison without parole for murder. So he's now got 5 life sentences plus 50 years. On December 10th, 2006, he would try to escape from Lee Correctional Institution along with other inmates. How far did they make it from the prison?
How'd they get out?
They went over a fence. So in distance, they could have got 6 inches. They could have got 500 miles. It could have been farther than that too. Infinite miles. How far away did they make it before they were caught?
They went around the earth 3 times, Johnny.
Yes.
Not to me. Single.
Okay. Maddux says 800 yards. Paul says 7K. Mike says 1 mile. And Maddux is going to take a solo lead.
It was like 15 feet, wasn't it?
because they made it outside the gate, and the first vehicle to pull up the drive was a prison guard, and they were caught 100 yards from the prison's perimeter.
See, I may take a while, Paul Wolf, but I always win.
One more question to go, guys. It is going to be multiple choice, so at best, Paul can tie it. Mike, you've been officially eliminated from winning this one. I am sorry to let you know. So Paul can tie it if he gets that. So Greg, start thinking of an artistic challenge or whatever you want to do.
Not artistic challenge.
Maddux really wants one. Paul really doesn't.
I will send you more money than him.
You still have that Play-Doh?
No.
I might. I'll have to look. So make a backup plan to that just in case.
Make 2 plans.
So, yeah, they made it 100 yards. So that's pretty much it for Danny Starrett. I wish I had some cool, yes, he's dead. You know, he's still alive. He was never sentenced to death. He's got 5 life sentences. He tried to get out once, only got 100 yards away. Yeah, we all want justice. We can't really get it, at least yet. So as of now, Danny Starrett's still alive in prison. But I have a little extra story for you guys. So that story is over, but there is a way for Paul to tie this thing up if he gets this one correct. But if you answer the same as Maddux, which you have fucking 9 times tonight,
He's a copycat.
you can't win.
He's a cheater.
Mike, it's for posterity. Question number 13. What is this story going to be about? Is it A, a woman who wrote a book about serial killers, so killed someone to see what it was like? B, a man who had just become homeless is killed by a notorious and uncaught homeless serial killer. Just became homeless. A woman set fire to her old apartment because she and her roommates did not leave amicably. Or D, a man who killed his son after a fight over Fortnite.
I believe we talked about Fortnite earlier tonight, so I believe that was a premise to the correct
Say that
answer.
last one again?
The last one, a man who killed his son over a fight about Fortnite.
Right. I don't feel confident.
I'm going to wait for Paul to do his answer so he doesn't copy me, so I automatically win tonight.
Okay. Maddux and Paul answer the
Hold
same
on.
answer.
No.
with
No.
C.
I said D.
Oh, you said D. That's also wrong. So Paul's 2 guesses don't get it correct. This story is going to be about a woman who wrote a book about serial killers, so killed someone to see what it was like.
Right, basically that answer.
So this is an article from abcnet.australia. Hey, Greg, you brought it New Zealand. I brought it in Australia. This is by Joanna Manon.
It's a stupid story.
Congratulations, Maddux. We'll celebrate a little
off.
more properly after this article.
Oh, fuck you.
So I got just again another kind of article reading for you guys. A 43-year-old woman lured a teenager with autism to a suburban Perth house so her 26-year-old friend, who had written a book about a serial killer, could, quote, feel the euphoria and exhilaration of murdering someone. The allegation was made at the start of the trial in Trudy Lennon and Gemma Lilly, who are accused of murdering 18-year-old Erin Pajik in June of last year. The teenager's body was found in the backyard of Lily Aurelia's home, wrapped in a tarp and buried under tiles and a slab of concrete, and described by prosecutor James McTaggart as, quote, an amateurish attempt to conceal a crime. Damn, he even fucking burned him, too. His face was covered in cling film, and in an opening address to the court, Mr. McTaggart said the teenager studied at a local college with Lennon and was also a friend of one of her 3 children. He allegedly, the 2 brutally and violently murdered Mr. Pajik after the friendship between the 2 of them took on, quote, sinister tones. He said days after the alleged killing, Lily divulged what happened to a colleague at the Palmyra supermarket where she was a supervisor, telling him, quote, I did it, didn't I? It was harder than I thought it would be. There was blood everywhere, she is alleged to have said. Mr. McTaggart said that Lily later tried to downplay what she had said by sending a text to the man saying, I'm a good storyteller, aren't I? And claiming that it was, quote, all an act. Why does it seem like stupid people who kill people always, like, you're bored at work and you need something to talk about? So instead of being like, hey, what'd you watch on TV last night? You're like, you know, I killed a guy yesterday. Like, what the fuck?
Because there's nothing good on TV on Wednesdays.
Yeah, and then
And
later,
one
ha
of
ha
them
ha ha!
shit
I
real
was just
thing.
fooling y'all.
Why are your headphones off?
Just want to see your reaction.
No, I just killed some. Just kidding.
Yeah, it's not the best way to prove to somebody that you didn't actually
I'm
fucking
gonna
do.
try
Like,
that on Monday.
Yeah,
It's like
good luck
in
with
my
that.
work group text, everyone's just like, "Oh my god, how was your weekend?" I killed somebody. And just wait. I'll text you the reaction.
I feel like
I'm part of that
you,
group text.
people will just be like, yeah, okay, so and just pass on.
Yeah, that sounds right.
maybe. So Mr. McTaggart said that Lily later tried to downplay what she had said by sending the text messages. However, Mr. McTaggart said that Lily had divulged to the colleague that Mr. Pajik had been stabbed, a detail that at the time was not known to anyone, including police. So Mr. McTaggart also alleged the day after the murder, Lily sent a text message to Lennon saying, quote, "I'm seeing things I haven't seen before and feeling things I haven't felt before. It's incredibly empowering." Fuck, man. This is... Yeah. So he said
Taking a life.
evidence to be called at the trial would include other statements she made to people, details of a book about a serial killer she had written in 2007 called... Actually, Greg, bleep that out. I don't want to put her fucking book title in there. And a plan... Sorry, I don't like to give you work, but fuck her. And a tattoo of a jester holding a knife. Oh, this is the reason why Lily murdered someone who's a complete stranger to her, is that she wanted to experience what it was like to kill someone, to take somebody's life, Mr. McTaggart said. She murdered Aaron Pajik for the euphoria and exhilaration of it. Mr. McTaggart said that it was alleged that Lennon, out of some warped and misguided reason, lured Mr. Pajik to the house and facilitated or aided the murder. She lured Aaron Pajik into certain murder, he said. Both women deny murdering the teen, and the court heard it could not be proven who actually inflicted the stab wounds. It was the state's case. Both women were criminally responsible for the murder, regardless of who had done the stabbing. On the state's case, the two of them acted in concert to murder him. He said Lily's lawyer, John Pryor, said his client maintained she was not involved in murdering Mr. Pajik, cleaning up the scene, or burying his body. Lennon's lawyer, Helen Prince, said her client denied luring the teenager to the house, but admitted that she was present when he was killed by Lily. However, Miss Prince said that Lennon had no idea Mr. Pajik was going to be murdered, and although Lily had previously expressed a desire to kill a person, she did not take her seriously. Look, if your friend is expressing desires to kill somebody, take that fucking shit seriously, please. Unless you know it's not. She, Lennon, had been involved in some BDSM and involved in the world of fantasy sex play as a submissive, she said. Because of her previous engagement in role play, that's how her friend saw it from her point of view. This was a fantasy and was not real. Mr. Prince said that Lennon admitted cleaning up the scene and lying to the police, but she maintained she did not know Mr. Pajik was going to be murdered. The trial is set for 5 weeks from now. So the murder happened like last year. The trial's coming up, but it's still fucking crazy to me. They just lured this fucking poor kid in so she could feel what it was like to murder. That's the end of the show. Sorry to leave it on kind of a bummer.
Well, I mean, it's a show about serial killers.
Yeah,
So
that's true,
There's no
man.
like high points. We're like, oh my god. Other than like me drinking, and this is phenomenal fun for me.
Yeah, we try to laugh sometimes. That's all. Hey, Paul. You didn't take down a victory tonight. Is there anything you'd like to throw out here at the end, though?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the fans for voting me third. That's cool.
The fan.
Rude. I'd also
the
like
thing,
to I'd also like to thank Lindsay for upping her Patreon to $3.34 because she can't listen and thinks that's more than I give, which it's not. Suck it. That's it.
Very good. Mike, I'm sorry you couldn't get a victory here tonight. He'll be back to fight another day. Is there anything you'd like to throw out at the end?
At White Ogre.
That's not me. No.
That's not Michael.
Paul's a dick face. That's it.
Okay.
That's not
Paul's
my
a dick face.
That's not my
Game,
Instagram.
set, and match.
And tonight's victor, he stepped into the Super Network studio for the first time. Oh, shit. First victory goes
Could you see
to
it too?
Maddux. Yeah, that's why I said it. Congratulations, dude. Anything you want to throw out here at the end? Take your victory lap.
You know, I'm just really happy that I could beat one of the big guys on the season 3 finale. You know, there's a lot of heavy hitters in that episode, and I could take one down. So I'd like to thank my sponsors, you know, for keeping this alive, for the invite. You know what I mean? So
Would you like to name your sponsors?
No, this isn't a racing platform, so I'm going to go ahead and keep them silent right
Totes.
now.
Canada.
If you want to follow me on the media, Maddux, Maddux, 821. That's about it.
I'm else exhausted by that.
So follow Maddux. You either hate Paul or you're already following him by now.
I have at least 5 new followers from the show, so thank you guys. Follow Bigfoot Designs, lots of G's and D's and F's.
B-I-G-W.
I'm looking forward to my hat, though. He made me a hat.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I haven't gotten it.
But one day.
That's an
So,
assumption.
Hella Greg, what's going on over there, man?
Hi, Greg.
Pass.
Find Hella Greg on all social medias.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah, man. It was fun, guys. It was fun.
Thanks.
It's always fun when Paul's in the house, right? Congratulations, Maddux. You'll be back again, Mike. Mike doesn't look happy, but he knows he'll be back to fight another
He's
day.
like 0-3 at this point.
0-2, dickhead.
That's better.
hey, some people
Slightly.
some people never win and never get to come back. So
Hey, Paul.
I keep losing and keep getting to come back. So
thank you, Hella Greg, for doing what you do. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Maddux. Thank you, Paul. And thank you, everybody, for listening to episode 83 of the Serial Chillers podcast. Don't talk to strangers.
I love
Thank you,
Greg.
Jesse.
I was just gonna say to everybody in unison, thank you.
This has been another presentation from Super Network.